right, guys, what's up? I wanted the music to play out, but whatever. Here we are. Welcome, ladies and gents, to the Pod on the Go show. I'm Raz. I'm the owner and the host of the show. This week, we've been continuing the theme of new beginnings, and we're going to continue that theme with a new segment idea that I have. It is called Your Favorite Podcast Sucks. A lot like Your Favorite Band Sucks. If you ever heard that podcast, a really cool podcast, we're going to do Your Favorite Podcast Sucks because there are a lot of great podcasts. There's also a lot of noise out there. And I also think that a lot of great podcasts have, they've snowballed so many listeners that people overlook the stuff they do badly, and everybody just praises them. And it's all this great love for all these great podcasts, which is deserved, but they still suck, and like the content you're putting out is just as good as theirs. You just have to put the time in and wait it out and keep going. So today we're going to cover a very old podcast that has had a lot of changes lately. So it's also a new podcast in many ways. And that podcast is, the Joe Rogan Experience, right? Joe Rogan's your favorite if your favorite podcast is Joe Rogan, your favorite podcast sucks. All right. And here's why. It's a lot of reasons. We don't have to say, I shouldn't even have to say how good Joe Rogan's podcast is. I love his podcast. I've listened to probably hundreds of them, honestly, all 2 or 3 hours, just playing it in the background. And I always learn something. I always come away with something that improves my life. But he changed. He changed recently. He moved to a new studio, and everybody knows what a studio looks like. Let's see if I upload the images right. Right? Who wants to look at that? How, I don't even know what to say. People say it looks like the inside of looks like you got abducted, and you're about to be put on the operation table in an alien spacecraft. So I don't know. It's just really hard to look at the red. I don't know. It's for something. You have to have red and blue if you're going to do a red space like this. They need some other color. It's just too hard to watch for me, honestly. I've heard rumors, or I read somewhere that he's going to change it soon back to something, a better studio. This is just a temporary space. I hope so. I hope he does it quick, because look at how iconic this studio is. Who would want to sit in there, hang out in there, and smoke with Joe Rogan for a little bit in that studio, right? It's so iconic. You got the brick wall, you got the TVs, you got, Jamie has space. I'm sure in this studio, in the red studio, Jamie's just in a box, maybe not even inside the studio. He's just in there pretending. He's just pretending to be in there, right? But in this studio, it's an awesome studio. It's just iconic, It became something, bigger than it was. So the new studio sucks. It's very hard to watch. I still listen sometimes, but I'm not downloading Spotify. I don't want to listen to podcasts on Spotify, to be honest with you. I'm not paying for another service. I'm not listening to 1,000 ads that Spotify is trying to shove down my throat. I'm not doing it. So I'm just watching the clips at this point on YouTube, because that's another thing that sucks about his podcast. Now, if you watch his podcast on YouTube and you have to go solely to Spotify, there's no comments. What is the Joe Rogan podcast without user and listener and viewer comments? That a lot of times I would search the comments first before I even watch the video. That's such a huge part. I think his move to Spotify, is Spotify, right? Yeah, I think his move to the new service and the amount of money he was going to make kind of made him not think about his viewers and listeners. That had became a community. The comments did. And a lot of times I would learn additional stuff from the comments that I wouldn't even read or learn from the video, or I would miss things and people would leave timestamps for something that's really funny or really insightful or really, educational in the comments. So there's no comments on the new platform. Just a lot of money for Joe Rogan. Right? Such an iconic studio. Got the spacesuit in the back. You got all the whatnots and whatever on the desk. You got the cool mics, the table, the brick background, the photos. It was awesome, right? Second is his move to Texas. I don't understand it. Like, I get it. You know, I get moving to Texas. I get, with the pandemic happening, nobody wants to be in California. But honestly, if you have as much influence and power and financial support as Joe Rogan does, why not stay in your state and use your influence to make things better for everybody around you and make things better for the people in your community, rather than moving to Texas and, potentially making things worse, not adding to the state. Maybe you do add to the state. I mean, you are Joe Rogan, but why not stay in your state and make your state better instead of running to a new state? So that there, I kind of lost a little bit of respect for him. He made a ton of money, ton of influence, met a lot of cool people in California. Then he runs to Texas because things got hard. Stay in your state and fight and make your state better. Just my opinion. Not doing interviews. Another reason Joe Rogan sucks. He doesn't do interviews on other people's other podcasts. He went on Joey Diaz once or twice years ago. He was interviewed by Jordan Peterson, and he cut him off early after an hour and a half or so of doing an interview. But it's like, I get it, you're busy, but there's a lot of people out there who love you, and why not go on their podcast as well? You have all these friends. You have this Joe Rogan and his crew is like the new Rat Pack. Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz. I don't know who else. Brendan Schaub, Bert Kreischer. All these guys, Tom Segura. All these guys are like the new Rat Pack, right? They are just at the top of the comedy world, the entertainment world, and they get along great. They have this little cabal that they do, but it's like, why not go on other people's interviews? Are you above other people? It's like, get over yourself a little bit, Joe. Go on somebody else's podcast. Go out there and help other podcasts, in a way that so that you can share a little bit more of yourself. I don't know. That's just my suggestion. To me, in my head, it's like Joe feels like he's better than other people because he doesn't have to go on their podcast. I'm doing so much. I'm so successful, but now you're not going to take any time and go on anybody else's podcast. So to me, and I get it, maybe one day when this little show will have 40 million views in episodes, or at least 1 million views in episode, then I won't go on other people's podcasts either, but I doubt it. Right. And then the last thing why I think his podcast sucks is just I'll show you the clips first. Let's do that.
Delusion. High-level problem solving with dire physical consequences.
Delusion.
They don't handle it. It's entirely possible that somewhere down the line they don't handle this. They don't handle it. It's entirely possible that somewhere down the line they don't do this. They don't handle it. It's entirely possible that somewhere down the line they don't do this. It's entirely possible that somewhere down the line they don't do this. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible.
All right. How funny is that? He says these things over and over on his podcast, and that just comes with the lay of the land when you've done, literally thousands of episodes with, I guess, hundreds of thousands of hours. You're going to say things over and over. But one thing that I hate that he says over and over is his idea of hard work and discipline. Like, yes, you need to work hard. Yes, you need to have discipline, but that's not the truth for everybody. Like, a janitor can work as hard as any janitor on earth, harder than any janitor on earth, and they're still not going to be super uber successful. Like there's luck that's involved. There's connections that's involved with success. There is education that's involved. There are friends and family members, and there's all kinds of a lot of luck also. But there's all these things that go into being a successful business owner or just person in life in general that hard work and discipline can't solve. It's more so about consistency, and it's got a lot to do with finding the right path. I could, maybe this path isn't for me, even though I've been working hard at it for the last 5-6 years, but no matter how hard I work, it's only going to happen when it happens. So it's all about me staying consistent, and it's not about how it's about working smart. It's about being consistent. It's not so much about working hard, because you can work hard going in the wrong direction. I watched a documentary recently about, I think it's called Bigger, Faster, Stronger. It was free on YouTube. Really cool video. It's about this guy grew up in a home with 3 brothers. Anyway, the idea, you've probably seen it. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. The idea is that one of his brothers wanted to become a professional wrestler. So he did everything he could, including taking steroids, including moving to the right state, getting closer. He doing all these amateur wrestling events, and he just never made it. But he's putting himself and his wife through years and years of hard, just hard trials and tribulations, trying to follow this dream that'll never happen. No matter how hard he works at it, no matter how disciplined he is about his craft and about his love, it's never going to happen because he just doesn't have it. So it's like at a certain point, you got to find how you can be adaptable, how you can adapt so that your dream can still be a reality, even if it's not the way you planned. No matter how much hard work you put in or how much discipline you put in, how much discipline you have, you're not always going to, get swept off your feet, or your dreams aren't always going to come true. So it's about being adaptable, and it's about accepting life as it comes. Sometimes, hard work does play a role. You can't be lazy. Discipline doesn't play a role. You have to, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. But that's more about integrity, and it's more about consistency. So that's something I don't like, because also he's, I'm sure he had a tough childhood. I don't know his whole backstory like that, but I'm sure Joe had a tough childhood. I'm sure that he's worked his ass off to get where he's at. But that's just not the case for everybody. Like, how many comedians and podcasters and MMA fans have a ton of hard work and a ton of discipline, and they're still not as successful as Joe is? So there's all these other factors that play into hard work and discipline. So I just don't want people to, I hate that he says that all the time, because I hate, that was like a mentality I had when I was a kid. Or if I just focus on one thing, if I just work my tail off, if I just, just go really hard, always working, then something's going to happen and I'll be a millionaire before I know it. But it doesn't always work like that. There's a lot of other factors involved, including who you know. A lot of times that's more important than, what you know, who you know. All right. Outside of that, I love Joe's podcast, right? It's a tremendous podcast, and I haven't listened to it since the move, because I don't like the move. I don't like that he sold us out, sold the comments out, and moved to this bad studio, and moved to Texas, and just changed up the whole vibe. But you know what? I wish him the best, and I would love to be on the show one day, Joe. All right, thank you guys for watching. This is the Pod on the Go show. I'm the owner, Raz. And if you want to start a podcast and find a podcasting studio near you, you can go to podonthego.com. If you need help starting a podcast or launching your podcast, you can reach out to me at info@podonthego.com. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out.